Voyage. I'm Rainey Laviolette.
And I'm Andrew Doty.
This week on PC Voyage, we have Ernie Savoy from Westfield Kids on Computers. We also have Keith Davis with Bits and PCs, and Donnelly Dupro with PC Voyage News.
But first up, I think Chip will give us the trivia question.
Again? That thing never works.
Well, maybe it'll be difficult this time. Really difficult.
Well, it's not as difficult.
It's Chip, yeah. And here's Chip.
Here are this week's computer trivia questions. Number 1. Which plus 5.0 command displays the status of conventional memory and the upper memory area? And number 2. What does CPS stand for?
I told you it was Chip. It had nothing to do with the trivia questions. It's Chip.
All right. Tonight we have Ernie Savoy with us from Kids on PCs. Finally, somebody that puts something back into the neighborhood, back into the people, and offers a pretty good service, don't you think?
Excellent.
I think so. How you doing, Ernie?
Good. How are you guys?
How did Kids on Computers get started?
Well, a friend and neighbor of mine started it about 5 years ago. He worked at a local company here. He had bought a machine for his kid and realized in a very short amount of time that most of the people using his machine were not his children. So he saw that there was an immediate need to teach them how to use it so they didn't break it. He had a lot of money invested in it, and it was an original XT. And through the course of time, as more and more people began sending their kids to learn, as the word got around that he was willing to teach children how to use the computers, he called out to a couple friends, myself being one of them, to come in and help. I've been building PCs and working with PCs since the Z80 days. And that's a trivia question, too.
So was XT, but I didn't mention that.
In very short order, the group got very large. It got to be 16 kids, all told, and of which I got to work with 2 or 3 local area ones. And then his job moved away, and I had the whole ball of wax and very little time to do it. But we worked it out. We had a lot of the older kids were already educated in the machineries, and plus they were building their own by that time. So they began taking younger ones under their wings, and all of a sudden we had this offshoot of kids teaching kids on computers, which was pretty neat when it started. And about the time that this all happened, we got our first corporate donations. We got 3 junk machines. They were literally all junk. And the kids wanted a machine for the club because they were always using somebody else's or tying up mine. And we spent about a week and a half figuring out what was wrong with each of the 3 machines and got one working one out of all 3. And a light clicked. Everybody said, you know, this is a neat idea. The other thing that came out about the same time was questions being asked by the kids themselves. What was the available machine? Because they had friends that were always using theirs, and their friends would never be able to afford a machine. So we began scrounging at that point, friends that build machines, corporations, the company that I work for, and began getting bits and pieces and slowly began putting together different technology and got it out to kids who really needed it. All told, over the last 4 years, we've been doing that for about 4 years, we've placed around 18 machines with kids who probably would have never been able to afford one. Unfortunately for us, what's happened lately with the economy crunch and also some changes in federal law, corporations aren't willing, one, to give up, or they just don't have the surplus anymore to give up machinery. So there's not a lot of surplus computers floating around out there that are, one, usable or releasable. And so that's put a crunch on what we were able to do in the past. The other thing is that we have gone through cycles of the availability of kids to teach kids, and right now we're at a bit of a low point where a lot of kids are now in college that started out with the group, and they're only available for a short amount of time to get things going again. So we've done well to this point, but we could probably be doing a lot better. There are a lot of people I know that have an interest. I found myself that this was the fastest way to learn how a machine worked, was to sit down there and work with a broken one.
So you're not looking for experts to work with you. You're looking for people that just have an interest in wanting to learn.
Yeah, I mean, that's my interest. I'm a mainframe person. I've been dealing with the big computers for 20 years. And my interest in the small ones was basically out of need. We were putting them in all over the country. My corporation has 55,000 installed PCs, and the folks who work for me support them through a network. And so I have a basic business need to learn them, but this was a little bit different. This was beyond a basic understanding on how to turn the thing on, how to tell a person to work through a problem. This is getting in there and understanding when it doesn't work the way it did yesterday, why it didn't work, and not having to pick up and call a technician somewhere or ship your machine out. And I found, working with all the machines over the years that we've had, from the first 8088 XTs all the way up to today's 486 machines, that they're all basically very, very simple to deal with. You don't have to be an Einstein to deal with them. If you can turn on your television set, you can basically take the cover off a PC and deal with it. There's no mystery involved. You don't have to have an electronics degree. All it takes is some very basic knowledge and a willingness to get by that trauma that people have of, this is a computer and it's smarter than I am.
It's funny because I think that most of us here and most everybody else that I know, for a while were always afraid to take the covers off their PCs, and then slowly, when they had a need, they cracked it open, looked inside, and sealed it back up again instantly.
I know that one too.
So what kind of equipment are you looking for to be placed?
Well, a good lesson working with corporate America that we've learned is we don't turn down anything. We've had a lot of sources dry up over the years because when they basically offered something that we didn't have a real need for, and we said, well, we don't have room to store it, because we are dealing with private homes and stuff to store things. This is not where we have a facility to work with it. That those sources no longer made the telephone calls to us, and getting back on their good graces took some time. We don't turn down anything, whether it be a burnt-out monitor or an I.O. card that somebody had on an XT sometime. It all has a use. The other thing that we've been fortunate with over the years is we've had some people that have come up, and even though we're dealing with a lot of obsolete or basically unrepairable type equipment, we've got people that are willing to try and repair it. There's a guy who does monitors for us down in Connecticut, and basically his labor is on the cuff. He charges us nothing. And if he can repair it, we get it back and just pay for the parts. And the way we get the little bit of money that we need for things like that is we've had tag sales where we got we've had things, that's how I got on the show, as a matter of fact, is a member of the, I think the Pioneer Valley Computer Club came to our tag sale and said, gee, this is an interesting thing you're doing. I got some people for you to talk to. And I don't regret any of that stuff. I mean, there are a lot of very, very good people out there that have big hearts that are willing to go that little bit extra to help a kid out somewhere. And it's worked well for me, too. I mean, my kids are growing up around machines. They're going to have an advantage that I didn't have as a kid, that their cousins don't have right now because they don't have the equipment in the house. Every school system I know of is doing something to get computer education going. But like every other, I feel anyways, like every other piece of education, it has to start in the home and it has to be supported in the home. This is just an opportunity that I took. It was serendipity to make it happen for a lot of kids where it would have never happened before. And we've had some good results. We've had kids do total turnarounds because somebody took an interest.
So essentially you'll take in any kind of hardware. Would you take any spare cards, donations, perhaps financial donations or so on and so forth as well?
When we get into the area of financial donations, I mean, I won't turn down anything. It's just the availability of where we're going to put that to the best use. Now, I mentioned the Pioneer Valley Computer Club, and there's also the New England Computer Club. They probably could do much more with things like that than I could, for the simple fact that there's time constraints. I'm the only person doing this right now that I know of. I've got friends that help me where they can and donate their time, but it's a very busy world out there.
So you're not only looking for donations of hardware, you're also looking for people to maybe help you keep this program going.
Yeah, one of the things, again, that I learned with the older kids is that they really didn't need me around a lot after they understood what the basics were. And once you start a wave like that rolling, it continues to roll. I know that several of the kids that started out that are now in college are doing the same thing now at their colleges that we did here. They work in the computer labs. They're helping people get a foot up, get exposure to machines, get over that that fear that everybody has of the keyboard and that monitor sitting there staring you like a big eye. And I see this change in the mentality when people begin doing this. You know, my own self-esteem went up substantially, but I also saw it with the kids the first time they got a machine working. You know, I didn't do that; they did that. And when you finally did it yourself, that's something very, very special, and it's something very special to see when it happens, and to be part of it. That's where I get my pleasure out of it.
Well, that's great. People can contact you, or is it better to go through the TV show's address as far as sending you?
Probably the TV show's address. A lot has to do with my work week. I mean, I do have a regular job, and I'm unavailable for days at a time because of it. So it's and I would hate to have people get blocked out of it. I know that there are people out there, there are kids out there that probably are very, very intelligent, that have a need. Those are the type of people we're looking for. So far, we've only worked on word of mouth. Also, there's a lot of people out there that probably just have equipment laying around. If you got it, and you know, we'll come pick it up. It's you can take, to my knowledge, I know the corporations do. You can take it as a tax write-off. Mm-hmm. The only requirement we have is something in writing stating that it's trash. If it's stated in any other ways, then we talk about liability with the federal government for anything of intrinsic value, and they all want their money right now. So,
well, it's nice to see that someone actually does give something back into the community, and if you'd like to help out or get in touch with them, please write to Ernie Savoy, care of PC Voyage. We'll make sure it gets to him. Next up, Chip is going to have the trivia answer.
Here are this week's computer trivia answers. Number 1. The mem/c command displays the status of both conventional memory and the upper memory area. And number 2. CPS stands for characters per second.
You know, it's kind of funny that Ernie mentioned about, you know, the kids that he was teaching, they went to go to work in the data centers in their colleges. I did the same thing, but mostly to try to pick up women and not to try to teach them. On another note, here's Keith Davis with Bits and PCs.
Hi, I'm Keith Davis. Today we're going to be talking about the directory structure on a computer. It's very important to learn how the directories are set up because when you get new programs, you'll know how to make directories and put files in them. And on the screen here, we've got a graphic that shows how the directories are set up on a computer. And the root directory is the top or the main directory of a computer. And in the root directory, we find files that have to do with the operating system. There's the ms-dos.sys, io.sys. These are the hidden files which are in the root directory, although you can't see them when you do a directory, but they're there. There's the command interpreter, command-com. And also in the root directory, usually we find device drivers and especially the config.sys and the auto-exec file. These are the files and programs that get your computer going. And the root directory is designated by a backslash. So the C colon tells you the drive that you are on at any given time. And the backslash in the prompt tells you that it's the root directory. Now, in the root directory, it's important not to put program files. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One is that the root directory only holds so many entries. And you may have many subdirectories like we have here on the screen. We just represent a few, but it's not uncommon to have 20 or 30 or even 50 subdirectories off the root directory. And these subdirectories are treated as files. And a program, a large application program, may have 50 or 100 files associated with it and could easily fill up the root directory. So it's good to have those in their own directories. Now, programs are put into subdirectories, and all subdirectories initially are off of the root directory. And each directory that you might want to make, here's a directory that's made called Word, and in this directory are the files of a word processing program. And here's Lotus would be in a directory, and in this directory would be the program files for Lotus 1, 2, 3. Here's a DOS directory over here, and all the DOS commands and utility files that you might have on your computer could go into the DOS directory. Now, over on the right here, this directory represents a directory that has some games in it, and it also has subdirectories of its own. And you can see we have a subdirectory called Sierra and one called Flight, one for Flight Simulator. And these can have their own program files. So a directory structure can be set up a lot like a tree. And each directory can have subdirectories off of it. Now, there's only a few commands that deal with directories as far as creating directories, moving around to directories, and removing directories. And they're very simply MD, which is make directory, CD, which changes to a directory or makes a directory a current directory, and RD, which removes a directory. And we'll do a few of these things. Now, first of all, I'm going to go out to the command prompt here, and let's clear the screen, and let's see what we have in this directory here. If we do dir, we see we have a list of files, and these are a bunch of PCX files with the file size, the date, and the time that they were created. It also shows how many files are in the directory and how many bytes they occupy. Now, if we want to make a directory, we simply do MD, and we'll give it a name. We'll call it new name. And what's going to happen here? Well, if we do a directory again, we see now we now have a new directory which is in the current directory that we're in. We've made a subdirectory off of the directory we're in. Now, if we want to get to this directory, we say CD, which stands for change directory. It also stands for current directory too. And as you can see by the prompt here, we're now into a new directory. And if we do a directory here, there aren't any files in here because we've just created the directory and there's nothing in it. There's these unusual looking file names here called with a dot and two dots. The dot represents the directory that we're in, and the two dots represents the parent directory from which we came from. And the parent directory in this case is lesson. So if we want to go back to that, we can say cd change directories ... and it will actually go back up to the lesson directory. Now, if we want to put files into a directory, we can do that too. We can copy, let's say, all the files here with a PCX extension into our new directory called new name. And the computer will copy those in. And now if we go to that directory and do a directory there, we'll see that it is full of PCX files now. And if we want to get rid of a directory, we have to, first of all, be out of the directory to remove a directory. And if we try to remove the directory right now, and if it still has files in it, we're going to get an error message which says invalid path, not a directory, or directory not empty. In this case, the directory is not empty because we haven't deleted the files from it. So let's go to that directory, and we'll show the files here. Now let's delete the files that are in it. We can use a shortcut called delete period, and it'll say all the files will be deleted, and we'll say yes. And now there's no more files in there. And now we can go back up to the directory above it, which in this case is lesson, and we can remove new name. And if we do a directory now, that directory, which was down here, is gone. Now, if we want to move around the drive and get to different directories, there's different commands to use. Let's say we're in the DOS directory here and we want to get to another directory over here, like the Word directory, we would do CD space, in this case, \Word, and that would get us up through the root directory and down to the Word directory. And let's do some of that over here on the C drive. We'll do a directory, and we have quite a few subdirectories on the hard drive here, but here's one called Word. So let's go to that directory, and just by typing CD space Word, and now we're in a directory called Word. And this is a word processor program, and there's the files that are in it. This is professional write. Now, if we want to get to the DOS directory, we say CD, and you can't say just CD DOS, because what will happen in this case, it will look for a directory underneath the directory we're in called DOS. And it will say invalid directory because there is no directory created here. There is a directory called Tom, and we could change to that. That's where Tom keeps his word processing files. Okay? But if we want to get from here to the DOS directory, we could say CD \DOS. And in this case, it will take us through the root directory and to the DOS directory. And now we're in the DOS directory. So in moving around on a computer, if you get familiar with the directory and the directory structure, and you can do it from the command prompt here, you'll understand what's going on when you do the same thing from DOS shell or from Windows, because basically they're doing the same thing. And we'll get on to some other DOS subjects on some upcoming shows, and we'll see you then.
And as if you had to hear from Chip yet a third time today, Chip is going to bring us the PC Voyage address.
I had to think about that one. I don't know why.
If you have any questions, or if you have any comments about the show, please write to us. Our new address is PC Voyage, P.O. Box 10486, Holyoke, Massachusetts, 01041. We appreciate hearing from you.
Well, you know, I prefer this address. Did you notice the last 3 digits of the address? 486?
Oh, I thought you meant the 041.
No.
Oh,
no.
you meant the
10486. Is that going to be an easy address to remember or what?
It might be.
All right.
Better than the other number, at least. Now here's Donnelly DePrill with PC Voyage News.
Hi, I'm Donnelly DePrill, and this is the PC Voyage News. Microsoft says it has started shipping the beta test version of its Windows NT operating system. The software publisher reports that the fully functional beta release shows substantial advances over the code used in an earlier version. Its new features include more support for 32-bit Windows applications, better support for existing DOS programs, and complete functionality for system administration and security. The software doesn't yet include scheduling or electronic mail features. The new Win32 software development kit is also available. The Complete Modem Plus External is a new standalone modem from the Complete PC. The unit offers 9600 bits per second Group 3 fax support and 240 bits per second data compatibility. It includes DOS and Windows-based fax and data communications software. The data communications programs provides V.42 BIS and MNP5 error correction and compression support. The Complete PC is headquartered in San Jose, California, and the Complete Modem Plus External is priced at $149. A CD-ROM containing more than 300 shareware game programs has been released by Sunnyvale, California-based PC SIG. The $39.95 PC SIG game CD-ROM offers arcade, board, card, educational, sports, and many other types of games. The software includes hypermedia interface that allows 250 of the games to be played directly from the disk without first copying the program to a hard drive. Shareware is a try-before-you-buy concept. It allows a computer user to sample a working version of a particular program before sending a fee to its developer. Holographic displays that can project realistic images complete with color and depth are on the way, say researchers at the University of Alabama at Huntsville. Special chips are being designed to compute the holograms and for use in the electro-optical devices needed to display the images. The technology base of the proposed system is standard VLSI technology and liquid crystals, materials that are both inexpensive and fully mature, says Dr. Stephen Cowell, a professor of electrical and computer engineering. He foresees a $5,000 3D display within a decade. If you ever wanted to go to Mars, but just didn't have the time, you'll want to know that Virtual Reality Laboratories of San Luis Obispo, California is offering Mars Explorer. The CD-ROM-based software offers over 200 megabytes of images from NASA's Viking probe to take users on a trip around the red planet. Along the way, you'll see ancient meteor-scarred deserts, giant volcanoes, and windswept canyons. The program offers a simple graphical interface. It also features 4 detail levels and images displayed in grayscale, Martian red, false colors, or colors from a PCX file. Portions of the PC News are brought to you courtesy of the Prodigy Services Company. I'm Donna Lee Duprell.
Well, you know, this has been a really great show. People get a chance to send equipment your way, and I hope that a lot of people do.
Well, I hope so too. It's going to go to good homes, and if not, we have other things that we do for it to make sure we can get stuff that does go to good homes. So.
Well, that's great, because I know a lot of people that have old equipment, old archaic equipment, and sometimes you just don't know how to get rid of it. It's not like a used car where people trade in your old PCs on a brand new 486. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way, so a lot of people end up with older generations just sitting around their house, and it's great to see that you can put it to good use.
Well, thank you.
So, and on that note, I'm Andrew Doty.
And I'm Randy Laviolette. And remember, if you have anything you want to send to Ernie, send it to the PC Voyage address, and we'll make sure it gets to him. See you next week. Good job.